Good morning and welcome to Juma Game Reserve. You're watching Wild Earth Safari. My name is Mark and Becky is with me on camera this morning with Craig in final control, and it is rather chilly this morning. Beautiful mist hanging over the valley and clear skies except for that bit of cloud in the distance, but we won't worry about that. Last quarter moon is maybe it's not quite last quarter. It's a gibbous moon, waning gibbous, and I guess it's going to be last quarter in a day or two, but maybe later we get to see the moon setting. But right now, we started off, we had the leopard tracks that we saw yesterday morning that went off of Zoe's Road and into that big block, and we couldn't find him. They couldn't find him yesterday afternoon. He has come out of the lodge. He came out of almost where our camp is, so he must have been hiding in there yesterday. He walked all the way up Vuyatela Access Road, and his tracks pretty fresh here on Zoe's Road. And I'm thinking that he's fairly close because the guinea fowl was still shouting on Vuyatela Access Road as we went by, so I'm hoping that we can catch up with him and see who it is for one thing, but also spend some time with the cat for a change. Join us. Let's see what we can find today. Kitty cats. Tracks were still on the road a few yards back where we started the drive, and I'm hoping and guessing, more than guessing, that he stuck to the road. There was some fresh dung in the road, but unlike elephant dung, it's not too prudent to touch carnivore dung to test for temperature. I can say one thing though from the dung, is that it's not from a recent kill. One sees a lot of blood in the dung. Very liquid shortly after a kill. Make sure he's still around. No. Doesn't look like it actually. We'll see when we get to the crossroads. He has left the road. Oh, it's because I'm not watching for tracks. I only hope that he came back onto the road. Got to watch the tracks all the time. They're on the road. See where they left the road. Get an idea which way he went. No, it's disappointing now. They were so fresh. One of those times when there's such a fresh set of tracks. Almost convinced it's gonna be on the road somewhere up ahead. Let's say almost convinced. The only thing is, let me just check around here. So, Rebecca's Road or Impala Road? Somebody lost a bush from a shock absorber. That means the shock absorber must have fallen out. That's broken. So, let's try Rebecca's, give it a bash this way. If this leopard did a loop, if it was staying true to the direction it was heading, then it would have headed further west. We'll have a look on Rebecca's Road, and if there's nothing further down Rebecca's, we'll have to come back. The mist's actually getting a bit heavier. I guess also partly because we're descending into it. Really beautiful morning with this mist. Okay, looks like Impala Road it is. If we go any further along Rebecca's, it would have meant that he did almost a 180. So, with no tracks here, my best bet is to go back to Impala Road. Wrong place to try and turn around. According to the drives who were out last night, there wasn't very much happening here at all on Western Gowrie, except the hyena den was busy. There isn't much to follow on from yesterday. At the moment, this leopard is our only bet, apart from, of course, just driving around and seeing whatever we can find. We can also try and follow up on those elephants and see where they got to. If they were all heading further east from Central Road, they might loop around to Buffelshoek Dam. We'll have to go and investigate that. At the moment we're heading west. We're going to concentrate on this western sector. From coming. Good morning. Where are you heading this morning? Yeah, I followed that one going west. He turns onto Zoe's, and then I lost his mkonza on Zoe's. I've just checked Rebecca's, he's not there, so I'm going to check Impala Road. And then, of course, he might just double back onto Zoe's Road. In which case, we'll find his tracks on top of our tire track if we go back there later. I can smell smoke. I can smell there's been fire somewhere. And there was a pretty deep orange glow to the northeast last night. Nyala plain. Lovely little open area. Nice short grasses. But nobody's here today. Oh, maybe a sun rising in this mist. It'll be pretty. So we're on the other side of a slope, unfortunately. Thing is, you see, excuse me. With leopard tracks walking on the road, you've got to really be quick about it, because these cats won't necessarily walk forever. And the idea is to get them while they're still walking, and it's just that little, most often it's that little patch of dawn rather. As soon as it starts getting too light, they move off the road probably, well, most of the time, because they want to stay out of sight, especially if they want to hunt. No sign of any movement here, other than the giraffe that we saw the other day, and that's about it. One thing about this mist is that, of course, mist, very tiny droplets of water that does things that normal dew doesn't do, and that is collect on the thinnest and tiniest of spider webs. And so all these trees are draped in, well, we can just see all the spider webs. There are spiders that persist throughout the dry season. The very large ones, all the larger spiders like the golden orb spiders and the bark spiders don't, but these are mostly tropical tent spiders, social spiders, scaffold web spiders, various others. Nursery, there's a nursery web spider. Some of the very tiny orbs. With this light, if I see a nice one, we can see if we can stop and get a nice view of it. Morning, Franklin. Little Franco. Sorry, child. As the sun rises, somehow this mist gets thicker. There's the sun. Oh, that's beautiful. Hoping to hear alarm call somewhere of something. Because this is the last patch of road that I could find tracks of him if he came through to this road. Otherwise he's still in the middle of this block. And we just got to give up. For now, at any rate. Maybe do another loop around Zoe's. Morning, sunshine. Morning to everyone. Welcome to an African sunrise. Yeah. Pardon? Oh, there, eagle. Nice. Just judging by its shape, looks like a juvenile batelier. And the Shelley's francolin calling. Or is it a brown snake eagle? Let's just go back in on it again. Sorry. My glasses and binoculars just messed up when I put them to my face. I can't. I don't get much better magnification with a 10 times magnification than the zoom on the camera. And a fork-tailed drongo. Not very happy with the presence of an eagle in its territory. It flew by. It was mobbing it earlier. More likely brown snake eagle, have to be honest. It's got that pointed wing shape of the batelier, but hard to tell from this distance. Couldn't see if there was a yellow eye. Maybe one of you out there could see whether there was a yellow eye or not. Really hard to tell on a small screen. 5 inches wide. Now, there's normally impala around Impala Plains, and there are normally impala back there where we were watching the sunrise. They don't seem to be around, unless they, because it's a lot colder this morning than it was yesterday. They're still tucked in the bushes somewhere. The other impala that a leopard might aim for would be those here on Sandy Patch coming up soon. The leopard would have doubled back to Weir Taylor Access Road. Or could have doubled, well, could have doubled back to Quarantine. It's so important to actually follow the tracks instead of driving. And then it just becomes guesswork, which is what we're busy with now, is guesswork. Like these impala are around either. Wildebeest were here too. E&J, morning to you. Was there any sighting of that leopard after sign-off? No, there wasn't, and they couldn't pick him up either for the afternoon drive. I did hear them talking about tracks in the riverbed that we were driving. I just listened to the radio for a short while at one point, but they couldn't find him as far as I'm aware. Well, when I asked earlier for an update of what was found here yesterday afternoon, I was told it was only the hyena den that was active. Okay, well, I'm going to do something like go back. Oh, these impala aren't here either. Old elephant though. Old as in a day or two. long time since I've seen a leopard on a kill in a tree. And I think about how many leopards there are around and how many kills they must make. It's time we found something like that. So far no sign of Karula at all either. I wonder where she could be. Leopard coming. Oh. Morning, Squire. Lovely Nyala bull, this. We've seen a lot of kudu lately, and this is the kudu's younger cousin, or rather, not younger, smaller cousin. The Nyala. I wonder if I can just roll forward for you. Get him. And then he goes the other way. They've been around all summer, but we haven't seen much of the Nyala in the summer months. But now it's getting winter, they're coming out of the real deep thickets at the bottom of the drainage lines. The creek beds, I guess you would call them. Dry creek beds. We saw quite a lot of Nyala on the way back, at the end of drive yesterday, the way back to camp. Females and babies. Air from coming. There's all the guinea fowl down the road, the guinea fowl that were making a noise. This morning. That's why I was so convinced this leopard was close by. And their track is sand disturbed in the road where he was actually lying down, or rather sitting more than lying down. It must have been Ephraim's tracker that was walking on these tracks. Their boot prints walking on these tracks. So he might have followed up on them. Hello, wax bulls, all a bunch of seed eaters here on the road. Hello, Christine. Welcome to our drive this morning. Christine wants to know what's the rarest animal on our safari. I would say, gosh, there are a few perhaps. But of all the animals that we've seen, I'd say probably the brown hyena. It's a nice picture of most of the... Just sidetrack quickly, Christine. We've seen these flowers a lot during the summer. And finally we're getting to see the fruit, or rather the seed pod. This is the monkey pod. And unusually, this particular specimen has still got flowers and it's getting its seed. Now, why it would be called a monkey pod, I'm not sure. I don't know what about those seed pods is monkey-like, unless it's like a monkey's tail, maybe. But there are other members of the same family of plant. Ephraim, come in. Ephraim, come in. Senna is the name of that plant. Senna sanguiana. Now, Christine, I guess of the diurnal animals, once again, you see brown hyena is more nocturnal than the spotted hyena, and it is a very rare animal to find here. Black rhino, perhaps more for a diurnal creature. There has been signs of black rhino before, but we've never managed to catch one on camera. I guess there are a host of other nocturnal animals, but since we don't do too much of a night drive anymore, I guess we could rule out discussing them. I'm trying to think of the diurnal animals. Wild dog, African hunting dog. Painted wolves. What other names do they go by? They're probably one of the rarest that we have coming through this part of the world. We haven't seen them for a while. Cheetah too. I think we maybe see cheetah a little bit more often than we see wild dog. But on a cold morning like this, any animal is going to be a rare sighting. From coming. Do you have any luck with Nkonzo? Yeah, but the one from Zoe's Road.
Yeah, from Zoe's very cold, the number chance and benefit no.
Okay, thanks.
Also, I will come at the top of the gate.
Thank you. Ephraim and his tracker followed those tracks. They evidently turned south off of Zoe's Road. And then he did a loop back north again. Hyena tracks. I heard hyena tracks. No, we don't hear tracks, Mark. I heard hyena calling. That's some impala finally. I heard hyena making a lot of noise last night, but it was, when I checked the clock, it was only after midnight. It was way too long ago to even think of looking for why they were making a noise. My guess is that they must have killed something. Morning, children. A bit chilly this morning. You can see your hair's all standing up. And some Nyala. A couple of Nyala bulls in there too. 3 bulls. 1 young bull, but 2 adult Nyala bulls. around the corner a little bit, down towards Philemon's Dip. Get a better view of them. Nice morning light on them. Accidentally looked into the sun. Hello boys, little boys. Oh look, ram up the front there, isn't it? Ram that we know quite well now. A ram called Bo. These really skew horns. See if we can get closer to him. Not easy to keep track of individual impala unless there's something distinctive about them. And some of these young rams have somewhat of some deformities or abnormalities. And this little one next to this bush willow that we're looking at has got asymmetrical horns. One sort of pushing forward and one pointing backwards. I don't know whether that's more than likely genetic as opposed to a damaged skull. Good morning, Sarah. Do any antelope shed their horns? Well, here comes one of the Nyala, a couple of the Nyala with the female impala. Case of using the impala as safety net.
From Ghana, just north of the gate. That bubble too. Look like Mangala was chasing Nyari. And gone through like he's heading back to Manyaret again.
But Sarah was asking, do any of the antelope shed their horns? No, antelope don't, Sarah. Only deer do, and we don't have deer in Africa. Antelope, all the antelope species, even those where females have horns, they are part of the skull. There is bone inside the horn that is part of the skull. And if I can, one of these days, as soon as I can find a skull for you, I can point it out, I can show it to you. Now it's because antelope don't... Oh, sorry everybody, I gave you a fright. I suddenly started talking. Because antelope don't shed their horns, there's a very distinctive growth rate to the horns. In other words, you can age them until they reach maturity, and then again, each antelope has its different lifespan. But with impala, there's a difference in or let me put it this way. There's a set rate at which the horns grow. Now if we have a look at, let's say, that little boy behind Bo. There's Bo, and there's that little boy. Horns are about as long as his ears. He was born last year. He's about, I'd say maybe 7 months, 7 months old now. He's one of the older little boys from last year's, or this summer's lambs. And let's try another little one. There, coming into the road behind that other baby ram. Yeah, not that little girl. His head is down now. He was at the back of that little group. This one, he was born the previous year. This one crossing the road. Yep, him. So although we might refer to him as a yearling, he's actually about 18 months old now. A bit more, maybe 20 months by now. And then you get a little ram like Bo, who's 2.5. But it's hard to tell with his horns because he's so abnormal. You funny child. Oh, he's actually displaying to that female. Rutting season should be over. We've just been through the rut. A particular period in the year when all the females come into estrus together and the rams compete with each other for dominance, and a group of females, a harem, and that has just sort of come to an end now. It's quite unusual that young male, obviously he's been prevented from mating by the older rams throughout the mating season, so he's just, I guess, trying his luck. Now that the groups are coming back together in mixed herds, they're not separated anymore. The young rams are able to join the female groups for the first time in a couple of months. There's still a little bit of posturing, and there's still a little bit of following that the older rams are doing, but I think that most of these females, almost all of them, will probably have conceived by now. And we'll be looking forward to November, early November, when they start popping out. Sure. Okay, everyone. Have a nice day. Mind the cats. Bye. Morning, Cindy. He's asking if the Nyala horns are usually white-tipped. Yes, they are, Cindy. That is one of the characteristics of Nyala, is that tip of their horns tend to be very pale. Might have something to do with the fact that they're often digging them into the sand and the mud, displacement behavior. But it is characteristic of Nyala. Laurie, see now, unfortunately these questions, as quick as email is, these questions only just come through. It would have been nice. We'll have to look at these antelope again next time I see them so that we can address these questions better. But Laurie was asking the black markings in the hind legs of the impala, is it just hide color or is it something on the hock? It's actually a gland, Laurie. It's a gland that they can secrete a pheromone, danger pheromone, when they're escaping from predators. Hilke from the Netherlands, good morning to you. Having said there are no deer in Africa, Hilke wants to know what are the differences between the two. Well, I think there have been deer up on the Mediterranean side of Africa, and there are deer that have been introduced to Africa. I think there were roe deer up in North Africa, and something was running here. Probably hyena. Yeah, hyena was running quite hard actually. Sand splashing so much that you can hardly read the track. Differences between deer and antelope. Now, I should probably research this and draw up a table, you know, like we used to do at school. One column with deer and one column with antelope, and you write down all the things about deer and all the things about antelope. Hello, Kukul, you're getting warm. Bye, Kukul. Birchall's Kukul. Sorry. So, I think the main difference between deer and antelope is that they have mutually exclusive geographical zones. Deer are New World and antelope are Old World. Deer shed their antlers every year. They're antlers, not horns, whereas antelope have horns that don't shed. And I'd have to look up other differences. Oh, it's chilly down here. We're down near the water. Brr. Oh, the two geese were in a tree. That's interesting. They're still in a tree. They're not going down to the dam. There's a pair of blacksmith lapwings as well moving about. Let's go and have a look. Might be something around the dam that is causing these geese to complain, and sounds like a few other things making a noise. Geese aren't happy about something. The hippo aren't concerned.
Hey, volemos. Hey, volemos. Hey, volemos.
The geese are seeing something that we're not seeing. But I'm not hearing any monkeys make a noise. And the monkeys ought to be around the lodge somewhere.
What's your location now? I'm currently waiting here before. Maybe I'm doubting to go out at something not to go out before. Okay, copy. Yeah, my unit is bad ready. Get all your paper here. Thank you for the use of it.
Oh well, let's continue. I'm sure if something's seen the lodge, we'll let the guys know. Good morning to Tara in Minnesota. Where are you in Minnesota, Tara? 3 cities. Or is it Twin Cities? Oh, there's an interesting little bird we haven't seen for a while. Out on the edge of the water there, a little pied wagtail. African pied wagtail. And those of you in the UK know the wagtails. I don't think you get wagtails in the States, in North America. Oh, tasty little piece of breakfast. Yeah. A quick question, or rather answer, while we're here at the dam. D&J wanting to know what keeps the hippo in the water, or rather this time of year. I think the best answer I can give you for that, D&J, is that they're aquatic animals. And yes, it is a little warmer in the water this time of the year. But they'll be back in the water from being out all night, and they're going to go back to the water to sleep during the day. They come out at night and they cover quite considerable distances to feed, to graze, to get enough grass to keep them for the rest of the day. They're able to sleep for the rest of the day. Terry wants to know how much hippos weigh and how long their gestation period is. Well, the hippo can actually, a big hippo bull can actually weigh more than a black rhino. I mean, on average, about 1 to 1.5. Not average. Big hippo bulls, about 1 to 1.5 tons. Although they have been recorded as heavier, that's kilograms, not that's metric tons. Gestation for hippo is about 9 months. Tara's question was, did I have any pets growing up? Did I have any pets? I had a menagerie. It used to drive my mother mad. Always coming home from school with an animal of sorts. My first pets were cats. I have a very, very close connection with cats. And, well, we did have dogs. I loved them too, but somehow the cats were just... I just connect with cats more than I connect with dogs. Cats are a little bit more intelligent. That's not why. I think it's the fact that they're a little bit more independent and that they're not so... It is not so dependent on humans. Forgot gears. Gary Cutline, let's go and see what might have been moving around Buffelshoek Cutline. Go up to Buffelshoek Dam. See if we can follow up on his elephant. I had tropical fish. I used to breed, and I had occasionally I'd find a pet shop that would have a newt or little radiant sliders from North America. Of course, in the 1970s, we didn't think of things like alien species and whether they were indigenous or not. I had a lot of snakes. I had spiders. I used to have garden orb spiders in my room. I used to have praying mantises. Anything that moved. Insects, reptiles. For about a year I had a seagull. We have in the interior of the country, we have a freshwater gull known as the grey-headed gull. You don't find them on the coast, but can't really call them a seagull, but they're gulls nonetheless. And I was out one afternoon it was a Sunday afternoon with my parents. Close to home there was a bird sanctuary. Now this is our home in the city, it's not the home in the Timavati. The home in the Timavati was our holiday home. That's now become my real home. But during the school year we were living in a small town and there was a bird sanctuary nearby, and every weekend we used to walk around the bird sanctuary because there were animals, and there was springbok and blesbok and zebra and sorry, just getting a message to say there's a lot of alarming near camp. Maybe we ought to do a loop from here. We'll go to Mvubu Road. That's what we can do. Then we'll come back this way. On the other hand, maybe not. Maybe it'll take too long. Maybe we'll go to Mvubu Road now. Thanks, Craig, for that. Always nice getting a bit of a heads up, somewhere to aim for, rather than aimlessly driving around. So, where was I? Seagull, the gull. Called it Jonathan. Of course, I was reading Richard Bach at the time. Those of you who remember Jonathan Livingston's Seagull. And what was his other book? There was that lovely book about flying, where the guy didn't get any insects on his windscreen. What was that? I don't know, but Richard Bach. Haven't heard that name in years. Somehow, how's that for a brain? I actually remembered it. Can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, but I remember that. That's a sign of dementia. Hello, little Dacre. Look at that. Where did you come from? We just been here. Pretty little thing. It's a little boy. He's a youngster. You can see his horns. His horns will grow a little bit longer than his ears when he's an adult. Bye-bye, little Dacre. Dacre means diver, and they have a habit of diving into thick cover when they're being chased. He's just disappeared. No sign of him at all. Why? Because he's dived into cover. See, I get sidetracked talking about pets and I end up talking about Richard Bach. Yes, my final year of high school was this seagull. I got to a point where I could barely read my textbooks because there was so much seagull poop everywhere. And one day it got better and he just flew away. But the way I found it was on the Sunday walk near this bird sanctuary, and the seagull was on one of the houses nearby. Was on their lawn, and it let me walk up to it and pick it up. And at the time, we had a fresh fish shop in town. I mean, most of the freshwater gulls, these grey-headed gulls, most of them eat hamburgers and hot dogs and the remains of toasted sandwiches because 90% of them live around roadhouses and I suppose also garbage dumps. But this freshwater gull was feeding on fresh seafood. Anyways, lived with me for quite a while, had an amazing time with this gull. At the time, my brother-in-law was studying photography. And he took some really incredible photographs of it, and even won an award or two with one of those photographs. What other unusual animals did I have as a pet? I suppose all of the above were unusual, except for the dogs and the cats and the tropical fish. Do I have any pets now? Tara was asking. No. Tara can't have pets in the bush. And I'm sort of over the keeping snakes and lizards things. I prefer having close relationships with wild ones like I do at home. Reptiles and things that live around my house that I see every time I get home, and we get used to each other, and well, they become my pets, as it were. Okay, so we're on Mvubu Road and we're heading up towards Rumate because there was noise there. Kudu barking. Excuse me, doves. According to Ephraim, the tracks of that leopard, because he and his tracker were tracking it, turned south off of Zoe's Road, and then eventually we went north again, which brought it back towards camp. And that could be what these kudu are barking at. Here we have zebra tracks, hyena tracks, Buffalo face.
Dagger? What are you for? The quick one. Nyala and Nyala. They're on cruise for the Nyala coming across from Triple M North. Close to the fire break, keep on dealing. Remember, you forgot to go to the front. No, just asking. Because I know the potatoes are landing in Congo. That's not really camp. Congo coming east on the fire break.
Why don't you all guys talk at once? Zebra. Ooh. Something else here. Also running. When animals run in their soft sand, the sand splashes so much that you can barely tell. And that looks like lion. Just stop and listen for a minute.
saying notice that zebras share a common feature with horses, is a gland on the inside of the front leg. I can't remember what it's called, Alan, and I don't know the function, I'm afraid. Maybe chestnut. Of course, Vicky would know. What's the function?
I think it's when they're lying down.
It's like a callus.
Yeah, it's callus.
Rather than a gland. No, I would have thought it was a callus. Becky's saying it's called the chestnut. And when they lie down, it's a callus, where the legs rub against each other. Thank you. I remember this question a while ago. Somebody also came back with the same answer. I just couldn't remember it. I think something happened back there because there's no alarming anymore, and there were animals running in it. There's a couple of places, about 3 tracks that could have been lion tracks running. But it almost feels like I'm getting cold now. There was almost like a tension in the air further back. But here there's only zebra tracks and hyena tracks. Oh, look at that. Got some ellies coming from Tamboti Dam. A small Shambian dwarf coming across from Tamboti Dam. Lovely big lady, 2 little ones. The smaller one must be her grandchild, I'm sure. Smaller one's probably a child of one of these other females. That one's not lactating, so it's not her. She's a youngster that hasn't had a child yet. And maybe that female behind this little one. I'd say that little one is probably about 2 or 3 years old. 2 maybe, just now looking at it, the way it's bending down like that. And its sibling is playing with it. Probably about 6 or 7 years old. There's a possibility perhaps that they have the same mother, because there's maybe about 5 years between them. Got 2 adult cows here with 3 calves. Some folks are saying it looks like the lens is misting up. It is misting up a little bit, but it is quite misty out here as well. But let's see. This cold air, it does mist. My binoculars are doing it too. Where's my lens cloth? Forever losing lens cloth. Maybe this will work. Doesn't look too foggy, but we'll just give it a wipe anyway. Lots of them, not lots, but quite a few more ellies coming across. Let's just go on to Biffle's cut line quickly. We'll get these last few coming across. Another mom. And another big old lady. Older girl with her child. Of about 5, I'd say. And the older daughter of about 8 or 9. Should rather go back to the fire break actually. trunks in the air, they're all sniffing. What they're smelling. Hello, girl. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Hello. Little boy wants some milk. Too old to be drinking milk. That little cow, I don't think it's V. She's too young, and that's just a little boy. A big V notch out of the ear. Hello, Jan, in West Virginia. Hello, Jan. Look at this little one. If an elephant dies of natural causes, do they go and collect the tusks? What happens to them? Jan, in places where we know that an elephant has died, yes, in the Kruger National Park, some areas are so vast that tusks might never be found. Just going to move again. Here in the private reserve, the guys spend a lot of time out on foot tracking animals, and of course if an elephant dies here, the carcass is going to be seen because of the vultures and the hyenas, and probably bring in lion as well. So here in the reserve there's a much greater chance of finding an elephant that has died, and subsequently finding the tusks, and then those tusks then become the property of whoever land it is, and the landowner then gets a permit to keep those tusks. He's not allowed to remove them from the property, not allowed to do anything with them. This is a beautiful old lady, very elegant matriarch of her family, no doubt, and I say that because she's undoubtedly the oldest cow here. Let's see if there's any. See, other elephant feeding on something, she moves in there and the other one gives way to her. Now these elephants are going to slowly make their way towards the dam. all these elephants will be related, and they'll all be. If you look at if you had to draw a sort of family tree, that old girl will probably be at the top. The other two cars, probably her daughters, and then all the calves, all of their calves, because she will still be having calves even. I don't know what her age is. I mean, I'm guessing her age will probably be maybe in the 40s, late 30s. She's big in body. She's quite an old girl. And they're going to follow this drainage line, and it'll bring them out to the dam. But where they're moving now, it's not going to be very easy to follow them because it gets quite thick. There's a little track that goes in here. We'll see if we can find it and follow it. I just want to talk to Abel quickly. Oh, schön. Komm, ja nur. Was ist immer dann grob? Hey.
5 out of 5, yeah. They dog now on the western side part is the parallel the place where the Nyala Baba Nyala is. So they walk, they drink around the west. I think they go. Or grab the dog.
I don't know if you want to check Mvubu Road. There was no Nongo colouring there earlier. Where's that little boy going? The young elephant almost running back. Maybe he was socializing with this group and his mother's calling him back, so there might be another group of elephant that he's going to. Hello, Jody. Now this little boy elephant ran in here somewhere. Hot. Ah, there we go. Lots of noise, lots of activity in there. What did you see, Becky? Just the one. I just heard him screaming. There are more in there. There we go. Yeah, there are more in there. In fact, there's another family group in there. Jodie was saying that she's sure that the elephant we saw yesterday is an elephant we've seen before based on his temperament and his stance. Very good observation, Jodie. And the one way I can be sure is when I start putting all my elephant photos together. One of the reasons why I take so many photos of elephant, I think for every 500 photos I take of elephant, there might be one that I can use for photographic purposes, but most of them are just ID photographs, pictures of their ears, pictures of their tusks. And the great thing about digital cameras is that sort of it timestamps it. I get the date and time that I took the photograph, and that tells me almost, well, most importantly, it tells me whether I was here in the Sabi Sand or whether I was home in the Timbavati. And that's one of the ways that I can tell whether the elephant that I've seen here are the same elephant I see at home. And occasionally there are, funny enough, mentioning that, I managed to start up an old PC from old FC last night, and there are a couple of film clips. In fact, there was one film clip of an elephant called Nyala, who we've seen here, and I've got film clip of him at home in the Timbavati. But now they're not moving much. So what's interesting is how that youngster was with this other herd. Maybe you can see them now through there. There's not much point in trying to see these elephants deep in the bush. They're not moving this way. I wonder if that little boy got reprimanded. That's why he was screaming. Reprimanded for leaving his mother like that. Anyway, so I need to go through photographs and try and find photographs. What I do is I try and find a single feature of an elephant, a particular notch in the ear, or a particular feature of the trunk, or a particular feature of the tusks. See, all these elephants have been here. There are a lot of leaves and branches in the road. I'm wondering maybe that this group of elephant that we're seeing on the right was moving north and the other herd's coming south. Missed it up. I need to be in the sun. Oh, very an interesting question, Lindsay. Here's another elephant. Elephants everywhere. Elephants for Africa. I'm going to stop here because he's on his way to that group that we had on the right. Might come straight for us. How do you tell the difference between a male and a female elephant? Well, when you get to see the genitals is one thing. That's easy enough, I guess. Also, the memories. Most ladies, most female elephants have had calves, and as long as they've had a calf, they'll be lactating. And the mammary glands of an elephant are between the two front legs. And I guess the easiest way is when you see the head of an elephant in profile. An elephant cow has a very much sharper profile. Her forehead is angular, almost square, as opposed to the round forehead of an elephant bull. Now, if I can, I think I might have a photograph, or I might have a picture of that in one of my books. And it's often a lot easier to show you rather, unless I have an elephant bull and a cow standing next to each other. This might be the easiest way to do it. No, I've got bush elephant and forest elephant. It's not helping me with. No picture in this book of the differences. I can draw it for you, Lindsay. While this elephant's hiding behind the bush, let me show you quickly. As I've got lead in my pencil. Which I do. Look here. I'm going to get a book to press on. Okay. If you look at the forehead of a female elephant, it's very angular. It comes down and then you get the trunk. Whereas with a bull, you get a very much rounded, more rounded forehead, and then it comes down into the trunk. And then of course the tusks and the ears. So female, very angular, and bull, much more rounded. That helps, I hope. Let me know if it does. And what we'll do now is let's see if we can keep up with some of these elephants, and we'll try and have a look. With the youngsters, it's not that easy. With the young elephants, it's not as pronounced as it is in adults. Well, this one doesn't know which group to go to. Going back the other way now. This little boy might not let us get too close to him. He's on his own. If he was in the herd, he might be a little bit more relaxed. He's a teenager, probably about 12 to 15. He's going into thick bush. We'll have to leave him be. Go and try and find that other herd. M. Landry, good morning to you. M. Landry. My little boy. You almost see a rounded forehead. No. Let's go back to the others, if we can. M. Landry's asking if we find a sick animal, do we try and ascertain what's wrong with it, and do we try and help it? Yes and no. Sometimes and depends. How's that for an answer? Yes and no, sometimes and depends. When you see animals in distress or animals that are sick. Oh, nice big bull tracks. A big bull crossing over to the north. When we see an animal that has something wrong, the most important thing is to ascertain whether it is a natural injury or a natural illness, or whether it is something that is a result of human negligence or human interference, human just human. It's human related. Likes of a snare or an injury caused by humans in some way. That is the only time that we can maybe interfere, is when there's something that is caused by a human. As far as natural injuries, natural illness is concerned, you can't do anything. We can't do anything. We're talking about a natural population in a natural area, and it is vital that natural populations go through the cycles of life and death, in whatever form it takes. And that if there is a disease or something, it is important that the population experiences that disease, and that some individuals fall prey to it, some individuals die, some individuals get sick, because the population as a whole depends on some of those individuals that don't get affected by it and are able to carry on the gene pool. These elephants are coming closer, so we might be able to wait them out. There's one Shambi in Law that is headed south along the drainage line west of Mbubu Road, but there's still one more Shambi in Law coming onto Buffelshoek cut line from Buffelshoek, just west of Tamboti Dam. Apart from the fact that when it comes to some injuries and some animals having a problem, if it is a naturally occurring thing, like maybe a broken leg or something to do with age, this, by the way, is where the buffalo kill is. Just on our left is the remains of the buffalo that we saw the sticks cats on. It'll be interesting to see if these elephants come along and sniff at it. Hello, children. Come and say hello. So sometimes animals that have a problem become prey to, obviously they become prey to predators, but you see there will be also predators that are getting old and predators that are, maybe you might have a lioness who's got cubs somewhere and she's failed at a couple of attempts to kill something, and her energy reserves are really low and she's got to feed her cubs, and it makes an easy kill for her. Or you get an old lion, the only way it can survive is by hunting the sick and the lame, and so nature has to take its course. Sadly, sometimes it's very hard to see these things, very hard to be a part of it, be present and not be able to do anything about it. But common sense and the head tells one that it has to continue, it has to go on and unhindered. The heart always sometimes wants to do other things, and there's always a battle between the head and the heart. And then there was a question, how does an elephant lose a tusk? From one rubbing against the tree. Sorry, I'll remember the name in a minute. Tusks can be broken. Bulls can break their tusks fighting, but sometimes they can break a tusk trying to break branches, trying to split trees where there's a fork in a tree, trying to pull a tree apart. Sometimes you might find one tusked elephant, the other tusk just didn't grow out of the jaw. It's still little, just a little incisor inside the jaw, just didn't grow out. So Craig, who is that from, that question? wasn't for that little boy, one of these youngsters coming towards us now, running back to this herd from the other herd, we wouldn't have known there was this herd here. Which in some ways is associated with that first group that we saw. Because they are actually moving in the same direction. And the way elephants communicate, they probably are, the matriarchs are probably talking to each other. The one saying, okay, well, I'm going to the dam now, and the other one saying, oh, well, we're still browsing up on the hill, so we'll meet you there later. So that's who it was that ran back here. That left elephant on the left there. That little one we're looking at now, that's the one that ran back here, because that's the one that had the little V in his ear, and he was turning around looking. When he was down with the other group, he was sort of whirling around. Suddenly realized that his mom and family weren't there. Parrots. I hear parrots flying overhead. Brown-headed parrot. Morning, Cheryl Ann. My sister's namesake. Cheryl Ann wants to know what displacement behavior means. Well, with elephant, elephant have rules in their society. Oh, here comes Mom. And my camera's all misted up. I think I can't wipe it. She's pushing the children on. She's saying, come on, move on, move on. Mostly because she wants what the child was feeding on. Telling the kids to move on now. I'm not going to get photographs. Almost going to that buffalo carpet. I'm gonna miss it though. She's suddenly speeding up. Probably because she's getting a message from the old lady that's heading to the dam to move on up. This is the buffalo carcass. The elephant in the background. Picked clean by the vultures and hyenas. She just moved fast across this little open patch of ground. I guess she a bit more comfortable in thicker cover. Displacement behavior. Well, you see, animals can get aggressive. And nature doesn't really want animals to take their aggression out on each other. So you find they might thrash at bushes, they might dig in the ground, they might with elephant, break trees, throw sticks around. It's a way of channeling some of that aggressive energy into an inanimate object and not a member of their own family or their own species. Elephant have quite strict rules in society to prevent outright aggression. There's very strong disciplining in raising the children, very much the way we are or should be. It says a lot for a maternal society rather than a paternal, what's the word, dominance. In that the calves in elephant society, sorry, I'm just hearing a car. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Since elephants are matriarchal and it's the females that raise the children, and the children are subject to quite strict rules and discipline, as adults, elephants generally are very placid and very well-mannered animals. The bulls, however, break the rules a little bit from time to time because they, as youngsters, move out from the herd and then head out on their own, and hopefully that upbringing has stood them in good stead to be able to socialize with other elephants in a way that isn't destructive. Occasionally you might find elephants as youngsters don't listen, they don't take to disciplining, and they get ostracized because they become a nuisance and they become delinquents. They can resort to violence and rape. It happens in baboon society too. They can resort to violence to get what they want from other elephants. Very rare though. But I've had an elephant bull in must who's been a little bit aggressive, and instead of taking it out on the vehicle, I've had him thrashing bushes and digging the ground in front of the car, and that's what we mean by displacement behavior. As we see, this lot of ellies disappearing, although, you know, there is this track here. Track that we once had mapojos, I think, and lion, machingula I just remember once when I went on leave, if you know what, there's a game drive vehicle coming. If we go in there, it's going to push them further in. I think let's let the game drive vehicle go in to see them. We can try somewhere else. Okay, morning. Wonderful. I love a day starting with elephants. Could have started with a cat. I love a Nyala bull. Oh, there's some females in there too. I can see a youngster. Youngster's a daddy. Good morning, Brian. How far do elephants communicate? How far can they communicate? Well, it is believed considerable distance. Low frequency sound travels much further than the higher frequencies that are very short distance oriented. When you think about bats, for example, bats that use ultrasound, very, very high frequencies. Nyala bull's following that Nyala cow, ewe, female. Maybe she's in estrus. No, he seems gone behind this big termite mound. Seems quite interested in her. Sarah, I'll get to your email in a minute, Sarah. But Brian, infrasound of elephants. I was talking about bats. You know, when they're hunting in the skies and they're catching insects on the wing, that frequency, the closer the insect gets to them, the higher the frequency. And it's kind of the opposite with elephants. The further they get apart, the lower the frequency. When elephants are in a group like this and they're communicating with one another within the group, the frequency is high enough for us to actually hear the sound, the rumbles. But when they start speaking to each other over further distances, the frequency gets much lower to travel those distances. And depending on terrain and air temperature and other factors, anywhere up to 10, 15 kilometers. Now this is Nyala, and Nyala are perhaps unique in that there is such a difference between the way a male Nyala looks and a female Nyala. And we saw Impala earlier with those Nyala bulls, and the Impala, if it wasn't for the horns, it would be pretty difficult to tell which is which. But Nyala, very strong differences. I'd love to be able to move because they're heading up the road. Let me just turn around quickly. This is going to have the whole family coming up. And you, Mr. Nyala, a lovely big bull. they're in the open. See what a little patience does, waiting for them. There's a beautiful family portrait of Nyala. Male, 2 females and a youngster. I think they're smelling things now. Just in front of them is the carcass of that buffalo, and they're looking at it, and of course it is causing a little bit of concern. Here's a forward. I guess the fact that they can maybe smell it means that they're making sure that there are no predators around still. It'll be interesting to see if they approach it and see what happens. And see about the positioning of the ears and the way she's moving her head and just the posture that is. I'm going to take a detour. One young female's going to get a little curious. She can see something. I think her brain can't quite make out what it is. They're nervous, that bull. Sure. Did you come on Vubu Road? Okay. Bye-bye, Nyala. Thank you for that. Lovely to see them in a family group like that. Sometimes we see the bulls, sometimes we see the ewes. As far as bulls and cows and rams and ewes are concerned, Nyala is the size antelope that is the sort of cut-off point for the two. Anything larger than a Nyala, we talk about bulls and cows. So it's a kudu bull, kudu cow, buffalo bull, buffalo cow, elephant bull, elephant cow, not only antelope, but all the herbivores, hippo bull and cow. If we talk about things like impala, we talk about rams and ewes. But when it comes to Nyala, for some reason it's a Nyala bull, but a Nyala ewe. Not really referred to as a cow. I don't know why. I didn't make up the rules. I sometimes refer to Nyala as rams. Because my brain forgets about rules. And that means other rules too. Leaving Colombian Love, heading south west of Mvubu Road, open lock, gone into thick bush. Morning, Annette. Oops. I stalled. A little bit more gas, less clutch. Annette wants to know if there are any animals I wouldn't want to be around, based on most of the animals we see being very relaxed. And since all these animals that we're watching are so relaxed, are there any animals that I wouldn't want to be around for other reasons? I wonder what we should do. I think we should go back down on Mvubu Road, actually. Annette, no, I can't think of any animal I wouldn't want to be around. As a species, I mean, there's certain individuals of each species that might become aggressive for some reason. But generally speaking, animals have become quite accustomed to the vehicles to the point where I don't believe there is anything here that I would worry about. We might get charged by an elephant, might get a lion that'll get angry with us. But then those will be individuals, and there'll be specific reasons why they might do something. From coming? Yeah, something there. Thank you. Done it again. Interesting question, Jody. Do male antelopes recognize their own offspring? In some cases, yes, because in some cases they would be the only males that would have bred with those females, so in some cases they would. I think with impala, I don't think so. Maybe. I mean, it's something that would be very hard to determine. Ephraim has just left us. Oh, yellow bird. Could that be a Nicator? We've got to get across the dam fairly soon. But in this tree, I can't see it now, I just saw movement. But there's a yellow bird and I've got to see what it is, because it is not an oriole. And I've got to put clutch fluid in. Lost my clutch. They just... No, that's not it. That's a puffback, so it wasn't what I was looking for. Got to move, but I can't because I can't get into gear. I'm just going to have to try and fill it up as it is now. Excuse me a moment, everyone. What's the noise, bird? Birds shouting. Can you see this with the camera?
Not really, not too well. Just
Is-
about. The vehicle's in the way.
Vehicles in the way.
You can see the very top of it.
What's up, birds? Sharks are shouting. Right, we've got to be on our way because we have a chance to end the morning off spectacularly. If I can just get this. There we go. We left those in Nyala at the same time as Ephraim, and he's already on Zoe's road power line.
Turn to the south from there. Like you said, get to the guy is. Get connected. Okay, cool. Thanks, yeah. Okay, get it?
Sarah was saying how to get a job like this. life, Sarah. Way of life, I guess, more than anything. Oh, sorry. Rough piece of road. Well, become a professional videographer. Or you could do like Tara did, Sarah. Tara lived in the UK. She came out here, she did guides courses and did all the necessary theory and was lucky enough to land the job. But I guess she had an advantage. She has a BSc in zoology and she had worked with animals before. But yes, we do feel privileged to be doing this because we are the only ones doing it. It's not like there are a whole bunch of companies that you can apply to that do live wildlife safaris the way we do it. And it is rather unique. It is also rather different to the usual driving guests around in some ways. Just driving guests around, but it's different in that one doesn't have that interaction that you have with the guests in between drive times and all the things that have to do with running a lodge and being part of a lodge. Make it different in that, I guess. Excuse me, Hornbill. Thank you. Hello, hippos. Hippo has a terrapin on its back. Let's have a quick look. Quick hello.
Who is access this?
Yeah, we got a ways to go. A hippo with a hippo and a terrapin on its back. Okay, let's go. Aubrey's Road. I guess we could have gone. If it was a cut line, it would have been quicker. 6 to 1, half a dozen in the other, I suppose. Good chance that the surprise that I'm taking you to might move into thick bush up on Aubrey's Road. Hello, waterbuck and impala. Sorry, can't talk. Can't stop and talk right now. Much as I'd love to. Been an antelope morning. Except we didn't see kudu. taking a shortcut, an illegal shortcut. The buffalo weavers. Mongoose. Bobby wants to know what bird that was in the tree. Can I spell it? The one we stopped when I was putting the fluid in, maybe. That bird in that tree? Hey, squirrel. I think if that's the bird we're thinking of, Bobby. Oh, squirrel. Get some road sense. Look left and right. I guess it must have been that bird. Huh? Oh, the one that... Oh, when... okay. Becky was focused on another bird when I was putting fluid in with a long tail. Used to be known as a long-tailed shrike, is now known as the magpie shrike. M-A-G-P-I-E, magpie, shrike, S-H-R-I-K-E, shrike. Lovely, thanks. Okay, we've got to have picture now. Okay, folks, just to let you know, picture's a little bit faulty for some reason in the moment, but we have to carry on because I have a special surprise for you. Graham, you're impossible sometimes.
Don't know where they are. Still got to find them. Maybe around the termite mound somewhere. Good. Just through the grasses, Becky. Looking at us through the grasses. I'm going to maybe climb this termite mound.
Had so many people asking about Karula and cubs recently, and people who are worried. We had a lot of lion here. Well, here they are. And they have been in the road, but for some reason they've turned off. Looking up at this termite mound. Someone's lying down in the grasses.
Okay, well let's see if we can get in there somehow. There we go. You must see them from here. Unfortunately a vehicle. Let's try through this gap. You see that? There's one of the little ones. Coming to see you, Becky.
I'm going to have to try and move over this Sabi sand vehicle, trying to get in to the lodge.
So let's just try and move out of the way of this vehicle.
Whoa! In a big hole. Morning. Fine, and you?
Shouldn't be a problem getting out of this hole. I wonder if Karula's gone off and she's left them here because I'm only seeing the two little ones. I wonder if it's somewhere else. Possible she's gone off hunting and she's left them here for the day.
well. 5 grams. See if we can see them again. There we go. One of them, yeah, I guess the others must be there. The other one might be there at that termite mound where the vehicles are. Look at that. Looks like they're looking at something. I can't believe how big these two little ones are. Lizzie wants to know, Mama has a name? Yes, Mama is called Karula. She's a famous cat. She's got her own website, or rather own page on Facebook. Karula, Karula. These little ones haven't been named yet. They should be by now, but they haven't been named yet. I wish I could spend more time with them, get to know their characters. Maybe be able to suggest a name or two, but we'll need to discuss it with the guides. I can't even tell them apart yet. I know Tara and a couple of the viewers have got some decent photographs of them, that they've had a look at the spots. I haven't been able to do that yet, to be able to differentiate between the two. I'm not even sure if she was with them, whether they've been on their own all this time when they were found.
So that one, this is the one I've noticed. I think it's Tara. One of you, just look back this way, Leopard. This is the one that instead of the row of spots above the eye has got this sort of half circle or quarter circle above the eye, like a C. And it is the little girl. Little tail twitch. It means it's looking at something or going to pounce maybe on its sibling. That little one is a little bit stressed out by the vehicle activity. Food is obviously not around, and Annette was asking whether they would have any chance of survival if they were orphaned or if they. Just going to wait until the vehicles move out. It's going to make a noise. Can you see where he's gone? Keeping track of it. Okay, it's there. Not now, no. But we've got the other one. Climbing into a little thicket. Was Karula here at all? So she was here. She is here. Just haven't seen her yet. It is time to start closing off, but we're going to just wait a little while, wait until these two vehicles leave. They've got to go back to their lodge, which is far away.
And I'm hoping that if things calm down, we might get the family back together again. Because the two cubs are split now. And yet at this age, let's see, where are we? We're in June. They were born mid-November. It's 8 months. They're 8 months old now. There is a possibility. With leopard, it's always a greater chance of them surviving at this age than it is with lion or cheetah, on account of the fact that leopard are very much instinctive when it comes to hunting, and are able to, I mean, even at this age, they're probably chasing after mongoose and things. I can't remember when it was when we first saw Mission in Duna behaving in a manner that suggested that they were capable of killing things on their own. But I think even at 4 or 5 months, these leopard are able to kill little things, catch things, especially small things like lizards and insects. And leopard are able to subsist. They're able to survive on lots of small meals, as opposed to lion, which need larger prey items. So I don't want to move just yet, because I'm now between these two youngsters. We've got the other one still here next to the termite mound, where Abel is. That one, lost the visual of that one.
I thought it was behind this tower around here, but I think it's gone a bit further off.
Well, let's go and see if we can see it and sit with it. I'm not seeing the other youngster. There it is. Saw it here a second ago. Oh, there it is. Hello, little one. your mama. This is a little boy. Got a row of dots rather than that quarter circle. Found a little safe spot to lie down. And so I'm going to move a little forward just so we can get to see his face. So good. It's been fantastic to be able to catch up with them, especially the cubs. It'd be nice to see Mom. Don't know where she is. I'm guessing she must have said something to stay put, and she's headed off. Probably to hunt. We're close to the open area of Sandy Patch, which is just west of us, and just south of us is the other open area where the power line meets Impala Road, where we were watching the sunrise this morning, looking for the other leopard's tracks, one of the young males. And impala are around in both of those open patches of ground, so it's possible that she's left them here. It's fairly good cover. Not only are there these termite mounds, but there are fallen trees that have dense clumps of grasses around them, which provide safety for them. Put his head down. Well, it might also be wise for us to leave the family be, that they can all reunite. Karula will come back and she'll start calling, and the two little ones will come out of hiding. The reason why I'm quite sure she's not here anymore is because they've gone into hiding like this. I think when we got here, she might have still been around. One of the other guides was convinced she was still here, but I don't think they would leave her side like this and settle down if she was. So I'm going to say goodbye from here. We're going to go back to camp and do our things for the day, and we'll be out again tomorrow, 6:30 Central African time. Thank you for joining us here on Wild Earth Safari. My name is Mark. Becky's been on camera, and Craig in final control. Thank you for the questions, and thanks for your interest this morning. It's been fun. I'm glad we managed to, even for a brief moment, get a good glimpse of them and catch up with them. And I'm sure it's going to make a lot of people happy. So from all of us here at Wild Earth Safari, bye-bye everyone. Have a lovely day. Sleep well. See you soon.